and we're going to hold that point, Mr. Kejriwal, because I understand that Abhishek Goenka, who is a founder and CEO at India Forex Advisors, is joining us. Thank you very much for coming into the show. We've of course been looking at the levels that we're looking at with the rupee. Where do you think this is going? And I mean, is 70, 72 a very near-term possibility at this stage?
I think rupee is in a clean fall. If you see the NDF markets, whenever the markets close, we see overnight movements of 40-50 paisa. And since the range of 66-67, which was extremely low volatile range for a very, very long time, has got broken, coupled with a lot of very positive factors in the international markets after Trump, and the US yields going up and the Indian yields coming down. It's a clean arbitrage play where the Indian bonds are no longer interesting, and now there's a complete outflow in the FII debt and equity, and it's likely to continue. Earlier in many months, Rupee was the outperformer, but now I think after demonetization, and since Rupee was earlier a little overvalued also, and now since it's broken the range, I think the Rupee weakness is likely to continue, and it's going to continue to historical high levels. I think 68.80, which was a level the entire world was watching. It has already 3 times the level had tested, and today, since it's moved above it, I think the importers will start coming in the market, and the extreme buying will start happening. So I think 69.5, 70 in the next 10-15 days is a no-brainer. It's very much possible that it might happen.
Okay, Abhishek, just a quick follow-up on that, because we've also been looking at India as well as the rupee within the currency baskets, and as well as the larger basket of the emerging markets. Recently, what we've been hearing from Donald Trump, for example, is that he seems to be a little less aggressive on certain issues that he was, and certain topics. That there's an interview that yesterday just shows how he seems to have like scaled back on some of the things that he was pushing on his elections. If there's a possibility that he doesn't pursue trade threat the way he was saying when he was campaigning, could that possibly ease off the pressure in the emerging markets?
A very interesting point that you have mentioned. Now, it's more of a phenomena of buy the rumor and sell the news. Now, the entire world is basically been very, very hawkish on the US because of all his promises. The recent articles that you said around the media has been talking that he's backing away with most of his promises, 1 or 2 at least, on the trade pacts or on the Mexico wall, etc. So definitely, after the worst is seen in the emerging markets and the other bond markets, etc., and if we do not see the delivery happening in the next 15-20 days, once he resumes office, or we see future statements, we're going to see a significant correction happening in the markets. But that does not mean that dollar is going to change its course. It would be more of an intermediate correction in the long-term dollar bull rally, which it has started from 93, the dollar index, and it heads towards 102. And the bond yields from the last 11 years, which has been going all the way from 4.5% US and has bottomed at, say, 1.35%. And now it's kind of bottom and it's moving towards 2.4%. So the way is only up. So we do not see the trend changing. There might be some intermediate corrections happening, but ultimately US dollar and US yields are only moving higher in the next 1 year from here.
So, which really was my question. At 102, is the dollar index at an inflection point? And if you're saying it's only going to go up over the next 1 year, how much could that rise be? Because between July 2014 to March 2015, we saw that big 25% rise coming for the dollar index, going from 80 to 100 levels. Going forward from here, is that something similar that we're going to see?
Very interesting observation again. So that's the period when we saw a significant 25% move. Post that, close to 1.5-2 years, the dollar index was in a range of 93 to 100. And now that particular range has broken after many resistances at 100. So the technical level is next 110. So it might take time, but then that's the level we are looking forward in the days to come.
Right, and similarly on the rupee, if you have a level to share, Abhishek, let's say from a 6-month and a 12-month horizon, because in the short term, even the FCNR redemptions are going to add to pressure, but going forward, what could those levels to watch be?
So technically, we are getting a level of 70.5, which we have been talking about for some time now. And if things worsen and we see the index going above 105 and the demonetization effect, the earnings of the company in India, and how the public is overall going to take shape after 30th of December, if these things worsen, which God forbid doesn't happen, then definitely we could see higher levels towards 71, 72 also for the dollar rupee.
All right, Abhishek Goenka, thank you very much for coming in and giving us a perspective as to where we're headed with the rupee at this stage. I just want to come back to our studio guest, Mr. Kejriwal. You know, we've had this conversation that's been dominating, which is, of course, the rupee domestically. Of